fossil, honey. So we had looked at all of those. We had one customer that had implemented GuideSpark and another one that actually implemented Dynamic Signal, in the last year.
Right. And obviously they came to different conclusions, probably because of their individual needs and which platform better met their solution, which platform better met their needs.
That's correct. Yeah. Yep.
Based on your experience from a consulting perspective, kind of a unbiased perspective, which of those two platforms is more impressive in your mind?
To me, from a technical and marketing viewpoint and what it provides, I lean more towards Dynamic Signal. I think that there's, as I said, a few moments ago, these companies sort of do similar things, but they do them just differently. For some reason or other, Dynamic Signal they've cornered a fair amount of the market, and for companies that started about the plus or minus around the same time, they've garnered a huge presence in some big name companies, like the Verizons of the world, the Deloittes and the Citibanks and the FedExes and companies of that stature. I can't say personally from what I see the difference. They don't do all that much, differently. Dynamic does, they sort of just, I guess I'll say, market it maybe a little bit differently, but they have sort of, content personalization, and they'll do broadcasting just like all of them. They'll do, obviously reporting. They'll be able to send videos or newsletters, basically different types. They'll be able to do surveys. What else do they do? They certainly have, like all of them, they have a permissions kind of approach that allows them to be able to select who can send a what, who can, what kind of permission rights they have in getting messaging out across the organization. So you may have the HR organization with complete rights to be able to communicate and send out information, whereas at the individual level, you may be able to only respond to, you may be able to respond to everything, but you may only be able to send to certain groups or categories depending on your, potentially in your level, in the organization.
Why did the organization that chose GuideSpark, why did they choose GuideSpark over Dynamic Signal?
Yeah, in that particular case, there was a function of the Dynamic seemed to want to provide a bit more functionality, and their needs were a little bit differently in that they wanted to, mainly their key issues were, engaging communications, and sort of getting content out there, easily managing communication campaigns from the HR department. And they did want to have the reports and dashboards. And also there was a price factor in negotiating the prices. GuideSpark was a bit more, less expensive, if you will. Dynamic had a more broader suite and it cost obviously a little bit more. They actually the one that picked GuideSpark, liked what certainly what Dynamic had to offer, but in the end, it became a function of what they really needed and wanted compared to the price that it would be.
Is a GuideSpark or Dynamic Signal a must-have in a large organization, or is it a nice-to-have?
In my opinion, in the large organizations, it's effectively a must-have. There is a huge need for intranet-like capabilities. Being able to centralize everything that's going on in an organization. The ability to communicate is one thing, meaning the campaigns and the informational side, and certainly that's needed. You could argue that could be done with emails. The intranet allows for efficiency and effectiveness savings, because now what happens is you've got a central repository of information that you can organize based on how you wish it to be shared. Also, you can lock things down so that the entryway in and out of these systems, or the ability to be able to modify them, is limited. So in large organizations, intranets are almost internet-like features are almost mandatory for efficiency and effectiveness. In smaller organizations, the SMB marketplace, it's certainly